Hey Meno Warriors, it's Kate and welcome back to my channel where you can expect weekly videos from me on a Monday to share all things menopause related, to serve you where you are in life. Today I'm actually going to be giving you some tips on how to wake up feeling refreshed. I know many of us really struggle with sleep issues during our perimenopausal and our menopausal years, so this is going to give you some explanations as to why that happens. I think if you understand why, then you can get to the root source of the problem. And I'm also going to be giving you some tips to help you maximize the most out of your Z hours. And if it's the first time you've come across them, hi, I'm Kate. I help instill belief in menopausal mamas that they can be even more energized and more happy in their skin than they were even in premenopausal years. I know you might think there's no way that can happen. I promise you it can. I found a simple system a few years ago, which has entirely changed my life and changed so many other ladies' lives too. So there is proof that it works, and that's the reason for me sharing these Menopause Mondays, is to just give useful tips that I have learned along the way that I hope will be of use to you too. So you can find me on Instagram at Kate Hartley UK. You're obviously on my YouTube channel, Kate Hartley UK on my YouTube. In fact, I'm Kate Hartley across the UK, across the board. So wherever you want to get hold of me, that's where you will find me. Apologies if I'm sat slightly strangely. It's because I'm still recovering from my double foot bunionectomy surgery, and I have to keep them elevated, otherwise they feel like they're going to explode. So hence the slightly strange position, but it doesn't matter, does it? So first of all, how do you feel when you wake up in the morning? Do you feel refreshed? Do you feel rejuvenated? Do you feel flipping awful? Do you feel fatigued? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel sad? Do you feel depressed? How do you feel? Drop it in the comments below. I'd be really interested to hear how you feel in the morning. I don't think there's a straight pattern for all of us. Some days we sleep well, other days we sleep terribly, but particularly as we go through the menopause, with so many things going on in our lives, with the adjustments that are going on in our bodies, with us also finding a new sense of self and almost rewriting our identity to incorporate menopause and getting older into that, it can have a really big impact on how well we sleep, due to also the fact that our hormones are running riot, playing havoc, and they do have a negative impact on like our blood sugar levels, our stress hormones. So all those things contribute to making sleep a bit of a tricky thing to achieve, or good quality sleep. So the purpose of today, like I said, is to really help you understand why and to give you a few useful tips. I've also got a free resource. I'll drop it in the links below. It's a Healthy Sleeping Habits ebook. It just gives you like my top tips to help you maximize your chances of sleeping. Today's video goes into slightly different things as well, so just listen up, and please message me if you've got any struggles, or if you've got any questions by what I've shared today. I think firstly, the most important thing across the board, and I say this pretty much every week, is stress. Manage your stress more effectively, whether that's with yoga, whether it's meditation, whether it's exercise, whether it's time out in nature. We cannot get rid of stress. It's always going to be there, but we can change how we manage our stress levels. And that really that's the linchpin to so much. It's going to have such a positive impact on your life on every level if you can manage your stress more effectively. And yes, I know sometimes life gets bad and you just think, I can't believe it's so bad. And then something else happens. And then you just think, oh my goodness, I had no idea. Could it get even worse? I mean, look at the times at the moment. We've just come out of a 2-year lockdown. Who would have thought 2 years ago that it would be normal to see people walking around in masks, that it would be normal to, before I went into hospital, I had to have my PCR test, and obviously everybody's completely covered top to toe in protective suits. That's like what we watch in films, and we've all become used to it. A lot of us have, my children are grown up, but a lot of people that I speak to, they have children at home who are now struggling with anxiety because they don't want to go back to school because they've had so much time off school, and it's a real issue. And that obviously, as a mother or as a parent, is incredibly stress invoking as well. So there's a lot going on. And then on top of that, obviously there's the war in Ukraine and the sadness of and the helplessness of seeing all that going on, and just disbelief that it can actually happen. So there's a lot, and then obviously aspiring energy costs of living are going up. There's a lot going on at the moment, and the only thing I can say, which I'm really relieved about, is that it's the spring and summer months, because that makes a massive, well, for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, that makes a massive difference to just, I think, our outlook on the day and our ability to get out into the sunshine and see the flowers and hear the birds and see the baby animals. That does fill us with joy. And I think we really need to maximize our moments when we're feeling that sense of joy. It can become it's very easy to get stuck in a rut and to allow that sort of depression, that darkness, that cloud to weigh you down, to be really heavy on your shoulders. And sometimes you kind of have to force yourself to shake it off. Sorry, I'm making my video screen wobble a bit too, because my knees are on the table. So yeah, back to the sleep issue though. So stress is a major one. Also, a lot of us struggle. Hot flushes was one of my worst symptoms, and a lot of us struggle with hot flushes. And you know what it's like if you're in bed. I don't know about you, they made me feel really like icky. I didn't just have a hot flush, I felt quite nauseous. I felt like I was fizzing inside. It was a really unpleasant sensation. And they've got significantly better now. I'm just as an aside, my hot flushes get much worse when I'm eating and drinking the wrong things. They have a massive impact on me. You will probably always wake up with a hot flush in the morning. There are several reasons for that. Lack of water, because we haven't had anything to drink all night long. It might be your blood sugars, because you haven't eaten during the evening or all night long. But also cortisol. Again, one of our stress hormones. Cortisol is naturally released in the body to motivate us, to make us wake up and to get on with our day. As we go through the day, our cortisol levels decline, so it helps the body prepare for sleep. But in the morning, we need that cortisol to get us out and about. That's why I always say to people, try and avoid having your coffee first thing. Save it for sort of 10 or 11 o'clock when your cortisol levels are starting to drop off a little bit, and then have it as a treat, because you don't actually need to be adding more stimulation or stimulants to your early morning. And you might be waking up thinking, yeah, I do. I'm not going to force you not to drink coffee. Of course I'm not. But I hope that if you use some of the tips I'm going to share today, it might mean that you can actually delay your coffee fix until later on in the day. So yeah, cortisol is designed to help us wake up. But of course, when our body is flooding with cortisol, it can trigger a hot flush. So you will find quite often that you'll wake up, or maybe every morning you wake up with that hot flush happening. Sorry, my dog's just whining. Give me a second. Muffle, come here. Come here, good boy. That's all right, he stopped whining now. And I just can't concentrate when things like that happen. The brain fog is just real. Oh, by the way, if you wanted the product, I've got this really cool productivity and fear busting guide. I'll drop a link to that too. I struggle with brain fog as well through the menopause. And because I run 2 businesses, I'm really, really busy. I put this guide together to help me stay focused on the things that matter most. But also, a lot of our procrastination is down to fear. And in the guide, I actually share a fear that I developed, and go into that in some detail, and also explain how I overcame that and how you can overcome things. You might not realize there's a fear holding you back, but often procrastination is hidden in fear. So you're more than welcome to have that as well. So I'll drop the link under the video and you can go grab that. If you're listening to this on Instagram or Facebook, click the link in my bio, and that will pop you through, and you can go to the free resources and you'll find it in there. So essentially, when we wake up, if we've slept badly, we can have low mood, we can be more anxious, our joints ache, our hunger hormones are all over the shop, so you're reaching for the carbs, which are bad for us. Not carbs in general are not bad. Blech, I shouldn't have said that. The refined carbs are bad. Vegetables and fruit are also carbs. They are incredibly good for us. We need healthy carbs. We just don't need the processed carbs. So just be aware of that. And also, as the day goes on, when you're balancing your macronutrients, ideally, you want to have carbs more in the morning, because that's when we need more of our energy. And as the day goes off, you don't really want a big bowl of spaghetti bolognese where most of it is pasta. Sorry, I'm going to try and keep my knee off the table. We don't need all that amount of carbs. You need a tiny amount, in actual fact, when you're sort of balancing out macronutrients. If weight loss or weight management is something you want to focus on. Reduce the amount of carbs you're eating at the end of the day. Vegetables are fine, but you go easy on the bread, the pasta and the potatoes, that sort of thing. And so yeah, we can have this myriad of things that we're faced with on the day after a bad night's sleep. And if you've got ongoing sleep issues, it can become really problematic, and you can almost dread going to bed because you know you're going to be lying there tossing and turning, and it's just an uncomfortable situation. So I think we're so busy as well. I mean, you know, we're going through our menopausal struggles, our hormones are all out of balance, the body tries to keep itself within balance. And by doing so, that takes up a lot of energy too, because our estrogen's falling rapidly, our progesterone, our testosterone are all falling. The body's working really hard to think, oh, okay, so that's plummeted today, so I need to try and up this, and it's exhausting for our body. So that's another reason why you might be feeling fatigued during menopause, even if you are actually sleeping well, is just the body trying to balance everything out that's going on. There is absolutely no doubt about it. The menopausal years are incredibly challenging. I think some ladies struggle more than others, and nothing is linear and there is no normal. I think it's really important that we all recognize and learn to become, I suppose, take control of understanding our symptoms, and also getting in the driver's seat. Because if you're set on HRT and you're not able to get HRT because of the lack of it, etc., that can be really depressing, because it makes you feel really helpless. But there are also a lot of things that you can do naturally to help to support you through that journey if you're not able to get what you want. I encourage ladies to try the natural process first, and if you're still really struggling, then I think HRT is a great supplement, but I do think you should try the lifestyle factors first. As our estrogen levels fall naturally as we go through perimenopause and through to postmenopause, you'll hear people say, oh, well, we're estrogen dominant. And you might think, well, people say I haven't got enough estrogen because I'm going through the menopause and my ovaries have gone into retirement. How can I be estrogen dominant? It's because estrogen falls slower than progesterone. Progesterone tends to plummet, and that makes us feel more calm. It makes us feel more nurtured. So that really takes a drop fast, and testosterone falls about the same amount of estrogen. So, you know, it leaves us really being estrogen dominant. We have more estrogen than testosterone. So that's why people refer to it as estrogen dominance, just because the progesterone has plummeted. And so, you know, there are things that we can do in order to try and stabilize that, and also to eat things that are going to help us boost our serotonin, so things that make us feel happier, because serotonin is one of our feel-good hormones, bearing in mind also that 90% of our serotonin gets created in the gut. So gut health is incredibly important too. If you struggle with gut issues, get them on point. See a gut nutritionist, see a dietitian, go for a gut, have a stool sample taken. To take potential irritants out of your food for a while, out of what you're eating for a while, for maybe a week, and see if that has an impact on how you feel, and note it, keep a tracker of these things, because you might have inflammation. I've had some amazing stories from ladies or people, men and women, who've recently done a gut protocol, 4-week gut protocol with us, and they didn't think they had sensitivities to certain foods, and it turns out that they did, and they've realized they had these sensitivities, and now they're just feeling amazing. Their skin's better, their energy's better, they're sleeping better. So a lot of it does link to our gut health. So be very, very mindful of your gut and what you're eating, and do you have any sensitivities? As our estrogen levels drop, our cortisol levels rise. That sort of is a bit like a seesaw. The estrogen goes down and our cortisol rises. When our cortisol rises, it also makes our insulin rise, which is our fat storing hormone, which is why weight gain can be such an issue during the menopausal years too, particularly around the belly, because our belly contains 4 times the amount of receptors for cortisol. So that's why we tend to get belly fat. So we tend to sort of lose the muscles in our thighs and our bum, and it tends to go up around our tummies and makes us look more apple-like, really, like an apple on sticks. that is largely due to the insulin levels increasing, cortisol levels increasing. Higher levels of cortisol and falling estrogen also makes our muscles atrophy. So it means that we have to work even harder to keep them toned and strong. It can also leach, make our bones weaker and softer. So again, that's why exercise is so important to strengthen the bones. So just be aware of sort of the interaction of how these things work. And, you know, as estrogen falls, like I say, cortisol rises and insulin rises. And I think you can also see how that can tie into sleep, because if your stress hormones are higher, you're going to feel more antsy. If your blood sugar's out of whack, that's going to wake you up. Liver is also something that you can really take care of. A lot of people in middle age have fatty liver, and particularly if you drink a lot of alcohol and eat a lot of processed foods, fatty liver just makes the job of the liver even harder. The liver does multiple things, but it also helps to keep us clean. It acts as our filter, helps to keep us healthy. And a fatty liver is a stressed liver. So if that is already stressed, that is also going to affect your sleep, particularly during the early hours. So between sort of like the 2 and 4 a.m, if you are waking up regularly during those hours, it could well be because your liver is creating more energy because it's having to work harder. So that can be another factor to bear in mind when you're considering improving your sleep. Watch what you're eating and drinking. Obviously, caffeine later on in the day, for most people is going to affect your sleep. My stepfather can drink like masses of caffeine before he goes to bed, and he still sleeps really well. Alcohol will affect the quality of your sleep. And even though it might help you go to sleep a bit faster, it means that later on you won't get the deep levels of sleep, which are the super restorative levels, which are really, really important. And you'll probably find you'll wake up earlier as well, just because your blood sugars are going to be out of whack and your cortisol levels are going to be higher. So you'll probably have more hot flushes through the night. You'll feel more antsy. You'll wake up earlier the next day, and you'll have all kinds of cravings because your blood sugars are out of whack and your liver's just working really, really hard. So the hormone that really is key in sleep, in us getting good quality sleep, is melatonin. And serotonin, one of our happy hormones, is the precursor for melatonin. So if we have low serotonin levels, we also have low melatonin levels. What we want to be doing is creating a lifestyle that helps promote serotonin, so gut health, like I just mentioned. Time outside, ultraviolet is incredibly important for us. So is sunshine. Make sure if it's a sunny day, get out in the sun for a while. You don't need to be lying in it for long or be in it for long. You might not have time to lie in it, or you might not want to lie in the sun. Always use some kind of protection. You don't want to be getting burnt, but sunshine is incredibly important for us to help create sufficient levels of serotonin, which can then be used to turn into melatonin. There is also an enzyme called tryptophan, which we eat in a lot of foods. Thankfully, it's dark chocolate, nuts, seeds, tofu, bananas, turkey, chicken, eggs, coriander, just some off the top of my head. But tryptophan-rich foods, tryptophan actually converts to serotonin in the body. So if we're eating a lot of tryptophan-rich foods, then that is going to help boost our serotonin, which then obviously with some daylight is going to help us trigger our melatonin to sleep better at nighttime. If you can get outdoors and get light inside your eyes in the morning, it's going to have a beneficial impact on your circadian rhythm, which is basically your sort of the daily cycle, day and night cycle. So it helps, basically it sort of sets you up for a better night's sleep if you can get outdoors earlier. Just get that light into your eyes. Basically what happens, we have in our head, we have something called the pineal gland, and when the daylight hits our eyes, it goes into the retina, which gets fed back to the brain, which then in the pineal gland, it's saying, oh, right, it's time to wake up because the daylight's here, it's time to get on with the day. The same thing happens with melatonin. So as the night starts to fall, it starts to get darker, and you know, in the olden days, we'd have just had candle lights and fires. So, you know, the body's thinking, great, it's time to go to sleep. You've probably been outdoors a lot, because in sort of hunter-gatherer days, it was obviously, you know, we weren't sat at screens all day long or indoors all day long. And, you know, I'm sure their sleep was a lot better. But it's that sort of darkness that then triggers the secretion of melatonin. Well, when we are surrounding ourselves with bright lights and screens and televisions and phones and laptops and da-di-da-di-da, we are not often getting that darkness. So part of really setting yourself up for a good night's sleep is the sort of an hour before you're going to bed, or a half hour before you go to bed, start to dim the lights. Ideally use candlelight with healthy candles. Don't use the cheap fake candles, because they give off all sorts of horrible chemicals, which are also going to be negative for your health in general, but they're also going to affect how you sleep. Scents of the Wild is an amazing candle company. Rachel is the lady who runs it, and she does natural organic soy wax candles. Everything is just beautifully naturally made with pure essential oils in them, and they are so pretty too, and they last for ages. So that's just somebody that I get her candles a lot. I'm not affiliated with her at all, but if you look up Scents of the Wild, you'll get some amazing good quality candles, and those are the sorts of things you should be, you know, lighting before you go to bedtime. And also ideally read a book now, or listen to an audiobook. Books, I love books. I have masses of books, and I have a Kindle, because otherwise I'd need an even bigger house to put all my books in. I have so many books, and so a Kindle's really handy, but always consider that you're watching a screen as well. You can download apps on your phone and on your laptop that will help cut out the blue light. You can also get glasses which help to cut out that blue light, and it's that blue light that really is the interrupting light as far as our sleep goes. But even if you're reading your Kindle in bed in a darkened room, that's still going to have a better impact than sitting in a bright room with a telly blaring and, you know, and that sort of thing. So it just helps to get into that routine before bed. I also have a sleepy tea, whether it's chamomile or chamomile and valerian, that sort of thing. I love a sleepy tea before I go to bed. And have your room relatively cool. A cooler environment helps to trigger the release of melatonin as well. Hey, Pudgy. What? My cat's come to say hello. Do you want to come and say hello? So about 68 degrees is perfect for a bedroom. Say hi. He says, no, I just want to be antisocial. He's the king, aren't you? You're the king. You're beautiful. He's my ragdoll pussycat. So it's really, you know, there are several things that you can do that you might not be aware of that is going to make a big difference to how well you sleep. You'll find also that when you're sleeping better, your immune system is going to function a lot more strongly, as it should do, because we need to sleep. We need to have that deep restorative sleep. That also includes going to bed not too late. Now, if you're a shift worker, okay, that is going to be more difficult for you, and you just need to make sure that you've got a darkened room and you've got a peaceful room that you can actually and have a really good run up to your sleep routine as well. So maybe have a cool warm shower. You don't want it too hot. An Epsom salt bath is magnificent before bed. It's the magnesium in the Epsom salts helps to relax sore muscles, but it also helps to calm us down. So an Epsom salt, particularly if you're feeling antsy, is really relaxing before you go to bed. You'll also find you'll have more anti-inflammatory effect when you're sleeping well. The joint pains won't be quite so severe. I also find caffeine makes my joints more sore. And I also take a vitamin E supplement, which contains both tocopherols and tocotrienols. There's 4 of each. If you go onto Amazon or a health food shop, make sure you're asking for tocopherols and tocotrienols. Those are the sort of the four of each. If you go onto Amazon, you'll know exactly what I mean. You'll think, oh my God, what's she talking about? Have a look. It'll say you want to make sure you've got both the tocopherols and the tocotrienols so that you get the most out of your vitamin E. But I think vitamin E supplements are also really good for our sort of joint health and overall brain health as we go through the menopause. So yeah, make sure you're trying not to get to bed too late. If you're getting to sleep after about midnight, you're likely to be hitting your second wind, which is it can be very difficult to get back to sleep after that because your body's tired, so it's starting to release stress hormones. Even though you might be feeling a bit more, oh, I'm awake now, you know, I'm going to work for a bit longer, it is much more difficult to go to sleep and the quality of your sleep will not be so good. So ideally anywhere between sort of 9:30 and 11. If you're one of these people who gets up at 4 or 4:30, get to bed earlier, maybe even 8:30, 8 o'clock. You know, newsreaders, they go to bed really, really early because they have to be up really, really early in the morning. I think it's unfair to say you need 7 to 8 or 9 hours of sleep, because we're all different. Some people can get 5 hours of really good quality sleep and they thrive. Other people need 9 hours. So again, I don't think there's one size fits all. It's, if you're waking up and you're thinking, yeah, okay, I'm ready to do the day, I feel energized, I feel refreshed, you know that you're getting enough sleep. Another thing that can really interrupt with sleep is fluoride in our tap water. Most of us have got added fluoride in the tap water. What I would suggest you do is use a water filter, ideally. The fluoride can really affect our pineal gland, which is obviously what releases the melatonin. And there's a lot of studies out there showing that fluoride is not so good for our sleep. So if you really struggle with sleep, consider using a water filter. You don't need an expensive one. You get one of those cheap ones from the supermarket. Just make sure you're refreshing it regularly. And if you really want to cut back on how much you're using it, you know, if money really is a concern, use, you know, maybe have a filtered water from 5 p.m. onwards, so that you're not getting that fluoride towards the latter part of the day. It'll also really help the skin. There's something else called glycine. Glycine is an amino acid. We make it naturally. It's also a neurotransmitter. We make it naturally in our body, but we also get it from various food groups. It basically has like a widespread influence right the way throughout our body: general health, the heart health, brain function, metabolic health. But it also helps us to fall asleep more quickly. It helps to reduce our core temperature a little bit. It can reduce the symptoms of insomnia. It's also used for, or can be used in the treatment of schizophrenia. So just be aware that you can get that in like fish, meat, eggs, dairy, legumes. I think most of us have got sufficient of it. But if you're somebody who really struggles with sleep, you can get glycine supplements, and you probably want between 2 and 3 grams of glycine in your supplement before bed. If you're really struggling, it's certainly something I would try. I would try adding sleepy tea to your bed night routine. I would try a glycine supplement, and obviously making sure that you're getting plenty of exposure to ultraviolet and vitamin D in the earlier part of the day. Reduce your exposure to the blue screens. Reduce your stress, or manage your stress more effectively. Include time out for yourself. It's so important. I mean, I think I'm as guilty of it as anyone else. You know, you just have so much to do, and we are the worst at taking care of ourselves. You just have to allow yourself 30. I think everybody should be allowed 30 minutes of the day for themselves, however that works for you, whether it's journaling, whether it's meditation, whether it's exercise, whether it's walking, whether it's just lying outside on the grass and enjoying the sound of nature. Whatever it is for you, I think we all, a minimum of 30 minutes, just to give us that space, that clarity and that peace. And not just in bed, not just lying in bed dozing. I mean, a proper 30 minutes of intentional you time is what you really, really need. With exercise, I mean, I'm the biggest proponent of exercise. I know how much it helps people on every level, but don't do hard exercise before bed. I used to run a Krav Maga fight club, and we used to do it in the evening, and I would be literally drop dead exhausted. I'd get home by about 9:30. I could not wait to hit the sheets. I was just so tired. Would have a cool shower, or sort of warm, cool shower, get into bed, and could I sleep? And it's because the adrenaline of running it was pretty heavy. If you don't know Krav Maga, it's pretty heavy duty stuff. And the adrenaline from that was keeping me awake. And the same applies to anything that's high intensity, that really ramps up your heart rate. It's not going to be beneficial if you're doing it immediately before bed. So bear that in mind as well. Exercise is great, but just make sure you're doing it when it's not just prior to bed. If you're doing high intensity exercise, I would do it 3 hours before you're likely to go to bed, 2 at the absolute limit. And then finally, electromagnetic fields, EMFs. These are things like from our phones, from our anything that turns on a light, your computer, speakers, that. Anything that has any, like, in fact, they're probably not that. Oh no, we'll do Bluetooth. We are surrounded by them, and they can have a really negative impact on how well we sleep. They are giving off electrical fields. They are giving off magnetic fields. They can be giving off radio signals, and they can really interfere with how the brain works and how well we sleep. The simplest way to do it is to make sure that when you go to bed, you keep your phone well away from you. EMF, I'll just call it EMFs, electromagnetic fields. They can extend 6 to 8 feet. That's a lot. I've got 2 plugs behind my bed, as well as, you know, lights and things like that. And I do keep my phone normally away from me at night time. But they some people are more sensitive than others, but they can have a serious impact on how well you sleep and also how you get to sleep. So I know, I think in the States, I think a lot of plugs are straight into the walls, and you might think, okay, well, I'll just turn the light off on the bedside table. Pull the plug out, because it's a bit like a water hose. So, you know, you turn on the tap, the water goes through the hose, and then you've got the hose extension. You can turn the hose off here, which is like turning the light off, but you've still got the water in the hose. You've got to turn the tap off at the wall. And it's like the same with a light switch. So if you don't have a switch on and off on the wall to turn off your electrical device, just unplug it. Because those EMFs, particularly if they're near your head, it can have a negative impact on how well you sleep. Make sure your phone is ideally across the room from you, so it's not close to your head. Never ever sleep with it under your pillow. It's like one of the worst things you can do. When you're talking to people on the phone, if you can, put it on loudspeaker so that you can hold it away from you. You don't want to be doing this because of all just the signals coming out and going into our brains. I was reading a study actually earlier today that was talking about the proliferation of brain tumors, and since we've been using mobile phones more often, and maybe there is a link. It's certainly not worth the risk. And if you are able to hold it away, or even use earphones, I mean, earphones are going to generate some kind of signal as well, but probably less than actually holding the phone right next to your ear. So just be really cognizant of that, because you definitely don't want those signals so close to your brain. I know sometimes if I have to talk to somebody and I can't put it on speaker, I change my ears like every few minutes, because I don't know whether it's just like I've got it in my head, but I really feel like I feel like there's stuff there. And so I always change it. So just be aware of that. So yeah, just in summary, if you want the Healthy Sleeping Habits book, it's in the links below, in the description below, or on my Instagram or Facebook. Click my profile and it's in there. Free resources you'll need to find it in. The productivity and fear busting guide, more than welcome to that as well. That's in the free resources. Scents of the Wild, as far as healthy candles go. Basically, eat food which is going to help you produce serotonin. Consider a glycine supplement. Get outdoors into nature earlier in the day if you're able to. If not, just make sure you get outdoors for a minimum of 20 to 30 minutes every day. Prioritize your sleep. Have a wind down routine. Oh, just incidentally, when I was in hospital, I took in my eye mask and I also took in some earplugs, because obviously they're quite noisy at night. And it made the biggest difference to me. I was able to shut everyone out. The earplugs were slightly strange, but I'm convinced I slept better because of them. So, you know, if you're in a noisy environment, do consider, and a light environment, do consider an eye mask and earplugs, because it can have a really beneficial impact on your sleep. Sleep is an absolute linchpin to our overall health, and it's something that is incredibly difficult to get good quality sleep during our menopause. So cut out the sugars. Ideally, we just cut out sugars, refined sugars completely. Make sure if you're eating pasta and bread, that it's earlier in the day rather than later. Eat lots of vegetables and fruits. That's really important for us. Healthy fats are incredibly important for us. Very, very important for our nervous system. Consider a vitamin E supplement, tocopherols and tocotrienols. I think that's about it. So, and keep well hydrated. Water is always going to help you. It's going to help your body. It's going to help to cleanse your liver. Water is an absolute essential, particularly if you're having a lot of hot flushes and if you struggle with brain fog. Water is going to help just things work incredibly well. We're electrical beings. We need water in order for those electrical circuits to work effectively. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your company. I hope it's been helpful. If you don't already, make sure to click subscribe and to follow me so that you don't miss out on future episodes. If there's anything you'd like me to consider to cover in a future episode, drop it in the comments or send me a message and I'll be more than happy to add that to my list. Keep safe, focus on your sleep, and I will talk to you soon.